is a great day to be alive, and I am so thankful for God, Jesus Christ, who lives in us. Today's video is titled U.S. Operation Red Dawn and the Red Patch Dream. Before we get started, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing that I'm sharing is financial advice. I'm simply sharing dreams, visions, and interpretations that I feel God's given me as it relates to crypto. Now, let's get into the video. So before I share what's new, I want to go back to June 28th, 2024. And on this day, I had a dream that I'm calling the backwards U.S. flag. And in this dream, I saw a mini casket. And on this casket was painted an American flag. And the flag was painted on backwards. Now, doing my research, I found out that a backwards flag represents marching towards war. The message from this dream: the U.S. is marching towards war. And because this was a mini casket with a mini American flag, to me, that represented a small war, or a war that's going to last only a short period of time. Moving from June 28th, 2024, we now go to March 21st, 2025. And this dream I've shared many times. This dream I'm calling the Iranian parachute dream. And in this dream, I saw a lot of parachutes falling out of the sky. And on each parachute, there was an Iranian flag. After sharing this dream, my husband told me that your dream is like a scene in the movie called Red Dawn. Have you heard of it? I had not. And when I did my research on this movie, I did indeed see that scene out of the movie where the enemy was coming in on parachutes, invading the United States. For me, though, this represented something to do with Iran, something to do with some type of invasion. And from this parachute dream, March 21st, 2025, it takes us to April 1st, 2025. I woke up from a dream, and as I'm waking up, I hear the name Charlie Sheen. I could not put the face with the name. I began to do my research. Come to find out, Charlie Sheen was an actor in the movie Red Dawn, the same movie someone had just told me about a few days ago. I'm back to Red Dawn again. So anytime I hear Charlie Sheen, I think Iran. What we have now is this message that's beginning to build that the U.S. is marching towards a small war. It's not going to last very long. It's going to involve Iran, and it's going to have something to do with an invasion, because that connects to the movie Red Dawn. Moving from April 1st with Charlie Sheen brings us to April 24th, 2025. A few weeks later, I had the dream that I'm titling A War is Coming. In this dream, the colors that I saw, white, blue, and yellow, three colors representing two wars: the Israel war and the Ukraine war. Israel is blue and white. Ukraine is blue and yellow. Using these colors, I derived the date of April the 19th. This was the birthday of an Iranian leader. At the time, the message in this dream is a war is coming. And this war would have something to do with the U.S. Would Israel be involved? Would Ukraine be involved? Would they both be involved? And then it would have something to do with Iran because of this April 19th date. So now the message is confirming a lot of things. The U.S. will move towards a small war. This war would involve Iran. This has come up twice with the parachute dream. It has come up again with the April 19th date derived from those colors. It has something to do with Red Dawn. Will Israel or Ukraine be involved in this war that the U.S. is going to be involved in, or will they both be involved? And based on the backwards flag dream and also this dream about a war is coming, there is indeed something that's going to take place that's going to involve the United States directly. Moving from April 24th now to June 13th through the 24th, Operation Rising Lion, also called the 12-Day War. This was indeed a small war that the U.S. was involved in, taking us back to the backward flag. This was a war between Israel and Iran. It would confirm why I saw the Iranian flag in the parachute dream. It would confirm why I got the birthday of the Iranian leader in the other dream using those colors. And it confirms more of the fact that it will be Israel involved in this war with the United States and not Ukraine. So we're looking at the colors of blue and white. Moving forward a few months later to February 28th, after that 12-day war, we have Operation Epic Fury. Currently, this is where we are. And the U.S. is very much involved in this war with Israel against Iran. This would indeed confirm the fact that this is not an operation, but a war has come. The confirmation still held being that the Iranian leader, whose birthday was April the 19th, he was killed on the first day of this operation. So overall, we see the message that was being built from June 2024 up until 2026, how that the U.S. would be involved in a small war, the 12-day war. how this war would involve Iran. Iran was being seen throughout this entire time, and Israel will be involved with the United States, not Ukraine, bringing us to where we currently are. Now, getting back to the Red Dawn movie connection, why was it that God revealed to me that particular scene, the scene about an invasion, Red Dawn? As I thought more about this, I began to put some things together, and God gave me an idea of what to research. So before I did my research, though, I was thinking about everything as a whole. And here I have on the right side of the screen, the BNB Tiger dream. If you've been following my channel, you know that I did a long series on this particular dream, breaking it down, and we saw how God brought just about everything in this dream to pass. The only thing that we're waiting on is for the BNB Tiger breakout. And I think that breakout timing has to do with what I'm about to share. In that dream, yes, the tiger was important, but there was also a pentagon game. That pentagon game looked exactly like what you see here on this game box. The pentagon I saw was the exact same color. Now, if you followed that series, you know that Charlie Sheen came up. There was something that Charlie Sheen said years ago that had something to do with him having tiger blood. And therefore, Charlie Sheen was tied to this dream in that way. Charlie Sheen is also tied to another pentagon, not just the pentagon in this dream, but he's tied to another pentagon because, again, when I see Charlie Sheen, I think Iran. When I think Iran, I think about the war that's happening now, and the war that's happening now ties to the other pentagon, the Department of War. So here we see Charlie Sheen tied to two different pentagons. This is why I believe that whatever is going to take place with this war is tied to the timing of BNB Tiger. So what do we look out for? What is the news that we should keep our ears open for when it comes down to this Iran Red Dawn connection, timing it with what I believe would happen with BNB Tiger? Well, here's my research. I basically typed in Red Dawn Iran because that is what I saw. I saw the Red Dawn scene. The only difference is I know it was about Iran. When I typed it in, I got Saddam Hussein infamously invaded Iran in 1980. Invaded Iran in 1980. During this time, Iraq and Saddam Hussein had the support of the United States. And this, of course, definitely happened before the U.S. did a Hussein pivot. What caused the pivot and when did it happen? In 2003. The United States wanted to dismantle Saddam Hussein's regime entirely. And so there was a manhunt. The reason behind this manhunt was because they believed that Iraq possessed or was actively developing WMDs. Also, there was a war on terror after the 9/11 event took place, and then a regime change was needed and liberation. Now, looking at 9/11 and why I'm saying that this is a very ironic date when it comes down to the Pentagon is because the construction of the Pentagon began on September the 11th, 1941. And then the attack on the Pentagon happened on September 11th, 2001. So there's something about this September 11th date that definitely sticks out when it comes down to the Pentagon. I just thought that that was a very neat fact to share. Getting back to Saddam Hussein in 2003, December 2003 to be specific, and to be even more specific, December 13th, 2003, the United States began what was called Operation Red Dawn. I had no idea this was an actual operation, but this is where Red Dawn has brought me, to do a random search for Iran and Red Dawn, and this is what came up. And Army Captain Jeffrey McMurray named this operation Red Dawn, and he named it after the movie. Some things to point out. In the movie, you had a group of young students, high school students, who band together to fight back against the Soviet-led invasion of the United States. They called themselves the Wolverines. For this Operation Red Dawn, the military designated two primary structures on the farm compound where Saddam Hussein was suspected to be hiding, and they named them Wolverine 1 and Wolverine 2. McMurray went on to say that he named this Operation Red Dawn because it was a popular, patriotic, and recognizable cultural reference of American troops who had grown up watching that movie. And so I don't think that this is a coincidence that I have come across this to find out that there was an actual operation called Red Dawn. Putting the pieces together, could all of these dreams pertaining to America marching towards war, seeing this Iranian flag on these parachutes, making the Red Dawn connection, now connecting it to this Operation Red Dawn that happened in 2003? Could these dreams also be foretelling that there is something about the United States' current war with Iran that will be similar to something that took place with Operation Red Dawn? And this brings me to my new dream, the red patch. I'm going to share this dream and then make the connection back to Operation Red Dawn. I had this dream on April 7th, 2026, and this dream started out with me seeing a red patch, and this red patch had 3 vertical zigzag lines. In the corner of my eye, I saw someone standing next to me wearing a military uniform, and then I saw the word Artemis. It didn't say Artemis 1, 2, or 3. It just said Artemis. There was no moon, just the word Artemis. At the end of this dream, I saw that this same red patch was covering someone's mouth. So putting everything together, I knew that this red patch had some kind of tie with the U.S. military and something to do with the U.S. space mission. Because I made the military connection, I began to look at different patches. Is there something that's similar to this patch that I saw in my dream? Is there anything that I can make as far as a connection? And what I found was something called electronic warfare. And this connected to what is called electromagnetic energy. Putting the two together, it creates what they call an invisible battlefield. And on this battlefield, it's not traditional because you have things that are non-kinetic. There are no bullets, there are no explosions, but it gives one the ability to neutralize their adversary's capabilities without firing a single shot. Although every branch in the military engages with this invisible battlefield, my research took me to Space Force, U.S. Space Force. They conduct electromagnetic warfare to protect U.S. satellite links and, if necessary, deny an adversary the use of their own space-enabled capabilities. Because our modern military operations rely heavily on satellites and GPS, communications, and intelligence, the Space Force is responsible for space superiority. The United States Space Force was officially established on December 20th, 2019. So this Space Force branch is fairly new. And this brings me to the last part of the dream. And in my research, I found something that's called OPSEC, Operation Security and Secrecy. And it says here that electronic warfare is highly sensitive, classified domain. Loose lips sink ships. The operator is silent and disciplined. Again, I had this dream on April the 7th. And on April the 8th, I saw this post put out by Trump on Truth Social. And it says, there will be no enrichment of uranium, and the United States will, working with Iran, dig up and remove all the deeply buried B-2 bombers' nuclear dust. It is now and has been under very exacting satellite surveillance, Space Force. And when I saw that, I thought about my dream. Putting it together, I believe that there is something that has to do with Space Force, nuclear dust mission. Whatever is getting ready to happen is going to be something similar to Red Dawn operation. And I think that it's going to be boots on the ground. Is this pointing to boots on the ground? When you begin to compare Operation Red Dawn to Operation Epic Fury, the thing that stood out to me as it relates to my Iranian invasion dream and the movie Red Dawn and that parachute scene is to feature nature of action. In 2003, the Iraq invasion was a full-scale invasion, boots on the ground. Primarily economic fury. It has been a massive air and naval campaign. Again, I don't know why God has just allowed me to come across this Operation Red Dawn, being that we've been talking about Red Dawn and the connection to Charlie Sheen, the war, the Pentagons. But putting all the dreams together, it really points to the U.S., this Iranian war, this idea about this nuclear dust mission, Space Force, and now I believe it points to what could possibly happen, a full-scale invasion on Iran. We have to wait and see how these talks will go. 60 days to come up with an agreement on something. But everything is pointing to what I believe is the nuclear dust. Well, that is all that I have for this video. Until the next one, God bless.